We are MCDM, and this is Arcadia. Thanks to Gustavo Pelissari for the dope cover art. So many months ago, I was thinking about ways we could reward our patrons. We had several hundred people giving us $5 a month on Patreon, and that number never really changed, even when the chain went on nearly indefinite hiatus, even several months into a pandemic. And I felt bad. I felt like, this sucks. These people are giving us $5 a month for basically nothing. And I wanted to come up with something we could give them that would justify their patronage. Meanwhile, Jason is our art director. Say hi, Jason.
Hi.
Meanwhile, Jason and I were talking about how much I missed those old TSR magazine covers and how evocative the art was. And I started wondering, why don't they do magazines like those anymore? I mean, I know why they're not in print, why they don't do print magazines, but why not a PDF? And a little light went on over my head. Hey, what if we did something like that? For our patrons, not one magazine for players, one for dungeon masters, just one magazine for 5th edition. It would have gorgeous, evocative covers, tons of interior art, and articles for players and dungeon masters. This would not be something I wrote. We would reach out to experienced freelancers. They would pitch us ideas, and we would pick the ones that we thought were the most useful. That is super important to me. It is the foundational premise of Arcadia. Everything in it should be actionable, not advice. We got enough advice. And not just lore. Lore might be fun to read, but then you're like, what do I do with this? No, I want to make sure if you buy Arcadia, you are getting stuff you can use in your game. So that means for players, it could be new subclasses, new feats, new spells, new items, new ancestries. For DMs, it could be new adventures, or just a location with encounters you can drop into your game, new monsters or villains, new NPCs. Or it could be new systems, new optional rules for the whole table. Whatever it is, I personally have to look at the pitch and think, yes, I would use that. I would use that as a player or as a DM. I thought this was a good idea, and it started to seem like a no-brainer. Why aren't we doing this? But not only do I not have time to write this, I don't have time to source the articles. Managing a network of freelancers takes a lot of work. So I pitched this to the team, and everyone is immediately very excited by it. But everybody wants to know the same thing. Who's going to do it? Who's going to manage this process? Contact freelancers, work with them on their pitches, edit their work when it comes in, make sure they get paid on time? I said, well, it needs to be somebody with a rock-solid knowledge of 5th edition. That narrows it down a little, but not much. It needs to be somebody who's worked as a freelancer, who's used to deadlines and editing. That narrows it down a little more. Then it needs to be somebody with a huge Rolodex. Do they have Rolodexes anymore? Somebody who participates in the online freelancer community and knows a ton of freelancers by name and knows their work, and that narrows it down quite a lot. Then it would be nice if this was somebody that we knew and had worked with, and at that point, I thought, why not James Introcaso? Say hi, James.
Hello.
James checks all those boxes and agrees with us about, let's call it, the state of the industry and the direction we should be moving in. So we asked James, and he said yes, and we signed a contract, and now we've got the first issue done. Because we've never done something like this before, I said, let's just do 3 issues at first. Each issue will have 3 articles, not because I think that's the right number. I would like to see many more articles in Arcadia, but because I thought we could do that. I thought 3 issues, 9 articles total, then we take a break. We look back on this experiment and we see what worked. Ultimately, we'd like to get an issue out every month, but I can tell you right now, that is going to take a while. It is real easy to disrupt a cadence like that, but that's what we're shooting for. After the first 3 issues are out, we'll stop for a minute and see how we did. And because this is on Patreon, which is one of our community hubs, we'll be able to get really good feedback from our patrons about what they liked, what we could do differently, and what they want more of. Then, if Arcadia is popular, we'll go back into production, putting everything we learned to use. Like everything we do, once we decided we wanted to do this, we wanted to do it really well. We wanted the best art we could get, a beautiful layout, full color on every page. We sent every article to our testers, who I think are excellent. Each article underwent a lot of testing and revision, and we got great feedback. They actually played the adventures and ran combats with the new monsters, and the writers were great about revising everything. So part of this first 3 issues is us waiting to see, is there demand for this kind of content? Is there enough demand to justify the work we put into it? And it's super important to me this all happens without me. I like providing feedback on pitches and working with James to figure out which pitches will become articles, but I want to focus on making videos and writing Kingdoms and Warfare and running the Chain of Akron. And thanks to James, it's all working. All I did on Arcadia was provide feedback. The first issue is available right now. Anybody can get it for $7 on our store, and if you're a patron at the $5 or $10 tier, it's free. Really straightforward. There are 4 articles. I know I said 3, but we got excited. The second issue will have 3 articles, and then the third issue also has 4 articles. The first article is an adventure called The Workshop Watches by Leon Barillero. Say hi, Leon.
Oh, I didn't see you there. Hello.
Awesome. Leon's adventure is sort of Paranoia-esque if you saw our live stream. It's a wizard's workshop with its own personality designed to aid whoever uses it in crafting items and making spells, and it's gone sort of haywire in a comedic but also life-threatening manner. It's only 10 pages long, it's short, easy to run, and includes a unique Shield Guardian variation with a little tweak to the spell story mechanic. The second article is a new Sorcerer subclass from Gabe Hicks. Say hi, Gabe.
Hello there.
Gabe's article presents the Titan Heart, a sorcerer who literally has the blood of titans running in their veins. It includes 5 new primordial spells, which are pretty awesome. There's an example NPC, a 12th level Titan Heart sorcerer, complete with his own backstory, and an awesome illustration of the Titan that gave him his powers. And Gabe designed a Titan Heart retainer using the retainer rules from Strongholds and Followers. So that makes me happy. People really seem to like retainers. This is a great example of how Arcadia can be useful. It's not just a new subclass. You get all this extra stuff that makes it more useful. Then we get something I am very excited to use in my game. We get new rules for mounted combat from Willie Abil. Say howdy, Willie.
Howdy, Willie.
I love this. Willie wrote and designed the article Jumping on Mounted Combat, which it doesn't replace the existing mounted combat rules. It gives you more reasons to use them. There's a new chart for taming wild monsters and rules for using more interesting monsters as mounts. You know, wouldn't it be cool to have a basilisk mount? Yes, it would. But the 5th edition basilisk is not well suited for letting a PC ride around on it. So the article presents new mount versions of 6 creatures that you can ride, like the mount version of a basilisk. It has different stats, different abilities, and it's tuned for use in your game, which obviously a wild basilisk is not. There are 6 new mounts: a basilisk, an owlbear, a hippogriff, a giant toad. Not that toad! Sorry, I had a long month last week. A giant toad mount along with a nightmare mount and a normal warhorse with these new rules. It was important to me to include the warhorse so DMs would have a baseline to see how these rules would work and something they could let their players use at low levels without things getting too weird too fast. Look at this awesome goblin riding a toad. How cool is this? God, I love this art. After Willie had done all this, I said, one more thing. I think DMs need to see how to use this. I don't want to just dump some new rules on them. We need to give them an example. Like, not an entire adventure, but maybe more than a single encounter, like a scenario. Are you down for that? And Willie was like, yes, absolutely. So far, the writers really seem to like this thing where they pitch an article and I say, well, yes, we could do that, but we would like to pay you more to make it more awesome. We'll see if that pays off. So we include a short scenario about an annual race held in a small desert town and the curse that plagues it. It's very cool. Everybody gets to try out the new mounts, and there's some, Easter egg-like content in there. You'll see. So an adventure, a new sorcerer subclass, new mounts, and new mounted combat rules. Finally, some very, very powerful enemies for your game. The last article in this issue is from Sadie Lowry. Sadie, please say hi to the nice people.
Hi.
Awesome. Sadie gives us 2 new enemy monsters, a fallen angel named... I don't actually know how to pronounce this. Sadie?
That's Ukaviel.
Yeah, that guy. This is a CR23 neutral angel who was tempted and betrayed by another celestial, Anahita, who is CR24. So the first angel could be a bad guy or a neutral ally, depending on how pissed off he is in your campaign. And he's locked in this eternal struggle for vengeance against the dark angel that betrayed him. There's a lot of lore in here and some quite evocative poetic writing, I thought. And of course, these 2 insanely cool enemies, or maybe 1 NPC ally and 1 enemy. That's up to you. They are fully statted out and illustrated by our friend Justin Sherry, who did all the angels in the Celestial Court from Strongholds and Followers. Here, check this out. Yeah, look at that. That is Anahita. I don't want to spoil the other one. It's sort of the star of the show, and it's a really amazing piece of art. We are really lucky to get Justin to work for us. No one else does angels and weird otherworldly entities like Justin. I think he is basically an otherworldly entity. That's it. 4 authors, 4 articles, 11 illustrations, plus some maps or diagrams and handouts, 40 pages for $7 on our store or free to our patrons at the $5 or $10 tiers. That's important. It has to be a $5 tier or the $10 tier. You can't do like a custom pledge. That seems like a good deal to me. We want to keep that price low so more people can get it. Also, I want to thank Jen McCleary for doing a killer job on the graphic design and layout of the issue. I think it looks good and is easy to read. That's important. Hannah Rose is our copy editor for Arcadia, and there are a lot of artists, too many to name. They're all credited in this issue. Now, I have hyped these articles up because I am very excited, but please temper your expectation. It's just 4 articles from 5th edition. They won't cure baldness. If you've got straight trousers, they won't give you flares, but they are fun to read and I think actually useful. Like Strongholds and Followers, like Kingdoms and Warfare, you probably won't use everything in here, but I predict you will find something in Arcadia you like and want to use, and hopefully more than one thing. If you go to our Patreon page, link in the doobly-doo, and you support us and read Arcadia Issue 1, please let us know what you thought. We are going to pay very close attention to all that stuff and probably run some polls after Issue 3 comes out. Also, patrons get a special role and access to an exclusive supporters channel in our Discord, which gives you another place to talk about the content and maybe brainstorm ideas on how you're going to use it in your game. If Arcadia succeeds, and I don't just mean if we get a lot of new patrons, I mean if it's obvious people are using the stuff in it, we might do more stuff based on these articles. If people like Willie's new mounts, for instance, we'd be happy to do more mounts in future issues. So far, I am pretty happy with all of this. I feel like this is stuff MCDM can and should be doing, and I want to see Arcadia grow and include more articles per issue after the first 3, but also different kinds of articles. As long as we have at least 3 really useful, actionable articles, we can include advice or lore or monster ecology or fiction or whatever. The sky's the limit. But first, we want to know, what do you think? The response from our patrons is going to have a major impact on where we go with Arcadia. I do not know when issue number 2 will come out. We would like to get it out next month. The articles have all been written and tested and copy edited, and a little more than half of the art is done, but we're also trying to get Kingdoms and Warfare finished, and it comes first. In the future, we'll schedule everything so we can make books like Kingdoms and Warfare and get Arcadia done at the same time. That's why these first 3 issues are an experiment. We wanted to know where the pain points were, and we are definitely learning. If issue 2 doesn't come out in February, it will definitely come out in March. And then issue 3, which is also already all written and tested and copy edited, should follow the month after that. Then we stop, we see what worked. What did you like? What did you want more of? Then back into full production for as many issues as people will put up with. If Arcadia does well and we get to 12 issues, we'll take the best ones, or maybe all of them, I don't know, and collect them for a best of print product. And who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll be able to eventually send you each issue in print. But we got a lot to learn before we try to figure that out. We have already learned a lot. For instance, the first 3 issues each have an adventure in them. We didn't really plan that, but that's what folks were pitching, and it sounded good. But it turns out adventures take a lot longer to test because they have to be played, and that may take several sessions, and that slows everything down. So we'll keep doing adventures, just maybe like 1 every 3 issues instead. Each issue will be available to patrons who pledge at the $5 or $10 tier for that month. Has to be Master of Locusts or Master of Ravens. It'll also be on the MCDM store for $7 for anybody outside the Patreon ecosystem. That's also how you'll get back issues. We'll probably make it easier to buy multiple back issues from the store at a discount, but we're still figuring that out. We're pretty sure we can do it though. It's more expensive on the store because, as I said, we spend a lot of money on this, and if we don't make it back, we're obviously not going to keep doing it. But also, we want to drive people to the Patreon because that is a big community hub for us, and our store is not. You can't talk to people on the store, whereas patrons can have discussions. They can vote on which articles they like, and we just get way better metrics over there in a way we don't with our store. 2020 was, as the man says, King of Suckballs Mountain. But we at MCDM spent the entire year working really hard on stuff for you folks. We worked on Arcadia and Kingdoms and Warfare and the Illrigger, and we want to release all of this stuff soon, starting now with Arcadia. Then the final version of the Illrigger will come out, and you'll get a video about that. And then Kingdoms and Warfare will release. So you're going to get a ton of stuff from us this year. All we want to do is make dope stuff for you people. The money you spend on MCDM, whether it's on Kickstarter or our store or on Patreon or a Twitch subscription or a YouTube super chat, we take that money and we put it back into making more stuff for you. And we pay everyone involved really well because we want the stuff to be good. Arcadia is important to MCDM. It is an experiment. I don't like going for a month without making a video. I want to be able to do all of this and make more and better videos for you folks. And that means hiring people like James to manage these products So I can guide them, I can write outlines and give feedback and make sure everything lives up to our standards, but I don't have to write everything. All throughout this process, Kingdoms and Warfare was the #1 priority. Arcadia had to get done without impacting the Kingdoms and Warfare schedule, and so far, that has worked. And you're about to get a new running the game video probably next week. I hope you'll forgive what is obviously an ad, but I don't see this stuff as being any different from a running the game video. It's all about empowering you as a DM, as a player, giving you more and better tools for your table. That is the MCDM brand, and I think this qualifies. Thanks for watching, folks. Because this is a new endeavor, and I think you'll all have a lot of questions, and also because we're just really excited to talk about all of this and how it came together, we'll be doing a live stream here on YouTube at 11 a.m. Pacific time this Friday. It'll be me and Jason, the art director, and James, the managing editor, and each of the writers will make an appearance to talk about their article and answer your questions. Until then, see you in Arcadia. I picked the name Arcadia for a bunch of reasons. It's a real term from the real world, but also it's one of the worlds in my 5th edition setting. It's the home of the true elves and their god, and it is a beautiful, dangerous, non-human realm. It's different from the standard fantasy world, but also similar. It's another way of looking at the genre. That doesn't have anything to do with the articles. The articles are just awesome 5th edition content. But the art, especially the covers, conveys this idea. Jason asked me to write a pitch he could give to the cover artists to convey this idea, and this is what I wrote. Arcadia, a world beyond time. There are no dungeons here, no dragons, but there are dangers. This is the world of the elves, a world that celebrates the beauty of nature and its cruelty. It is an ethereal realm, a realm devoted to the intersection of nature, art, poetry, and magic. There is beauty here, but also death, even in Arcadia.